Throughout history, earthquakes have unleashed some of the most catastrophic and deadly natural disasters the world has ever seen. While tsunamis often grab headlines, many of the worst death tolls in seismic events have come directly from the ground shaking itself, collapsing homes, toppling cities, and igniting fires that consumed everything in their path. This list focuses on the 5 deadliest earthquakes where the destruction and loss of life were caused solely by the quake, not by ocean waves or secondary tsunamis. These seismic catastrophes struck without warning, caught millions off guard, and reshaped entire regions in a matter of seconds. They highlight the devastating impact of unreinforced structures, urban density, and inadequate preparedness in the face of raw geological power. From ancient cities to modern capitals, the human toll of these events is staggering. Here are the 5 deadliest earthquakes in recorded history, excluding those where tsunamis were the primary cause of death. Number 5. Haiti earthquake, 2010. On January 12, 2010, a magnitude 7.0 earthquake struck just 25 kilometers west of Port-au-Prince, Haiti's capital. The quake lasted less than a minute, but caused widespread devastation in one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Over 230,000 people died, primarily due to the collapse of poorly constructed buildings, including homes, hospitals, schools, and the presidential palace. With many structures made of weak concrete and lacking steel reinforcement, entire neighborhoods were flattened. Infrastructure, including roads and communications, was severely damaged, delaying rescue efforts. Hospitals were overwhelmed or destroyed, leading to an even higher death toll in the aftermath. The disaster displaced over 1.5 million people and left a lasting scar on the nation's social and economic landscape. The aftermath highlighted the need for earthquake-resilient construction, especially in vulnerable developing countries. International aid flowed in, but coordination challenges and logistical issues hampered relief efforts. Diseases like cholera broke out in the crowded temporary camps, compounding the human toll. The Haitian government and NGOs have worked to rebuild, but even over a decade later, recovery remains incomplete. Despite its relatively moderate magnitude, the quake's shallow depth and proximity to a densely populated urban area made it uniquely catastrophic. The Haiti earthquake remains one of the most tragic examples of how socioeconomic factors can amplify natural disasters. It reshaped global disaster response discussions and inspired new building code initiatives across the Caribbean and Latin America. Number 4. Aleppo earthquake, 1138. In October 1138, the medieval city of Aleppo, one of the largest cities in the Islamic world at the time, was rocked by a devastating earthquake estimated to be around magnitude 8.5. With a population living in stone and mud brick structures, most of which had no reinforcements, the quake caused massive building collapses. Over 230,000 people are believed to have perished, many of them trapped beneath the rubble. Castles, mosques, and market centers were leveled, and the surrounding countryside suffered extensive damage. The death toll was compounded by aftershocks that followed in the days after the main quake. As one of the earliest well-documented quakes in the Middle East, the Aleppo disaster is cited in several historical texts, offering vivid descriptions of the chaos and ruin. The earthquake had profound religious and cultural effects. Many contemporaries saw the quake as divine punishment, or a sign of cosmic imbalance. Survivors fled the city in panic, and Aleppo's strategic and economic importance diminished temporarily due to the widespread destruction. Reconstruction took years, and the region never fully recovered its former glory. Because of the limited scientific understanding at the time, there were no preventative measures or engineering adaptations to mitigate future disasters. The quake remains one of the deadliest non-tsunami earthquakes in human history. It also serves as a stark reminder of how vulnerable early civilizations were to seismic activity, especially in areas along major fault zones. Number 3. Tangshan earthquake, 1976. On July 28, 1976, the industrial city of Tangshan in northeastern China was obliterated by a magnitude 7.5 earthquake. The quake struck in the early hours of the morning when most residents were asleep, leading to an especially high death toll. Official figures reported approximately 242,000 dead, though some estimates claim the number may be closer to 655,000. Tangshan was a thriving mining and steel production hub, and the seismic energy released leveled nearly every structure in the city. Homes, schools, factories, and rail lines were all destroyed, and many victims were buried alive. Emergency services were unprepared for such a large-scale disaster, and the central government was initially slow to release information. Aftershocks continued for months, including one that measured 7.1 and struck 16 hours after the main quake, worsening the destruction. Entire neighborhoods vanished, and infrastructure like water and electricity was completely wiped out. Rescue operations were hampered by political factors, as China was in the final stages of the Cultural Revolution, and news of the quake was tightly controlled. The Tangshan disaster became a defining moment in Chinese disaster management history and prompted sweeping changes in building codes and seismic monitoring. In later years, the government honored victims with memorials and rebuilt the city, transforming it into a symbol of resilience. Despite its relatively lower magnitude compared to other major quakes, Tangshan's proximity to a densely populated area and the total lack of preparedness made it uniquely deadly. Number 2. Antioch earthquake, 526 AD. The earthquake that struck Antioch, modern-day Antakya, Turkey, in 526 AD remains one of the deadliest urban disasters of the ancient world. While no instruments were available to record the magnitude, historical descriptions suggest it was a massive seismic event. Over 250,000 people were killed, many of whom were trapped as their homes and public buildings collapsed. Compounding the tragedy, fires broke out across the city shortly after the quake, destroying what little remained and killing many who had survived the initial tremor. Antioch was then a major religious, political, and cultural center of the Byzantine Empire, making the loss particularly significant. Entire districts were wiped out, and a significant portion of the city's population perished in a single day. The fire that followed the earthquake was reportedly so intense it burned for days, fueled by wooden structures and a lack of fire breaks. Many survivors attempted to flee the city, only to be killed in stampedes or by falling debris. The Byzantine Emperor Justin I ordered aid and partial reconstruction, but Antioch never fully recovered its previous status. Religious interpretations at the time described the quake as divine retribution, adding a spiritual dimension to the catastrophe. The combined effect of fire and seismic collapse makes this event a harrowing example of how secondary disasters can greatly increase mortality. Despite its ancient occurrence, the Antioch earthquake remains a benchmark for urban vulnerability in historical seismology. Its lessons echo even today, reminding planners and governments of the risk posed by unreinforced and densely packed cities. Number 1. Shaanxi earthquake, 1556. On January 23, 1556, the deadliest earthquake in human history struck China's Shaanxi province. Estimated at around magnitude 8.0, the quake leveled entire towns and killed over 830,000 people. Most fatalities occurred when traditional Yaodong cave dwellings, homes carved into the Loess cliffs, collapsed en masse, burying families alive. The disaster affected a vast area over 500 miles across, impacting 97 counties in 10 provinces. Records from the Ming Dynasty describe mountains shifting, rivers changing course, and entire villages vanishing. Given the sheer number of casualties, this quake dwarfs all others in terms of human loss directly caused by seismic shaking. The region's unique geology played a tragic role in the devastation. The soft Loess soil is highly prone to landslides and collapses under shaking, making the cave dwellings especially dangerous. Unlike modern buildings, these structures offered no resistance to ground movement. The quake not only caused immediate loss of life, but also disrupted food supplies, trade, and communication for years afterward. Reconstruction was slow due to the sheer scale of damage and limited technological capabilities. The Shaanxi earthquake remains the gold standard in earthquake lethality, often cited in engineering and disaster studies. It's a sobering case of how the combination of poor construction, population density, and unique geography can turn a natural event into a historic catastrophe. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Until next time.